All right, so it's that time of year again, isn't it? The season of big goals and New Year's resolutions that, if we're being honest, often don't make it past February. We've all been there. But what if the problem isn't our willpower? What if it's the actual blueprint we're using to build our year? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful framework that's less about just trying harder and more about building something that's meant to last. Okay, let's get into it. Now, this whole idea kicks off with the concept that, well, it kind of turns everything we think about success completely on its head. It comes from the study of a figure in ancient texts known as the suffering servant, a leader who wins not by force, but through humility and even sacrifice. This just flips the modern script, right? It suggests that real, lasting strength comes from a place that isn't just our own effort. And that really is the question at the heart of all this. We've all tried the brute force method, dragging ourselves to the gym or forcing a new habit, only to burn out. This whole framework asks, hey, maybe we're just starting from the wrong place. Maybe the engine for all this change isn't our own muscle, but something else entirely. So what is that something else? Well, the source material calls it strength through surrender. Now, hold on. This isn't about giving up. Not at all. Think of it like this. The best leaders, the best managers, they don't micromanage every single detail. They create a vision and then trust their team to execute. It's a strategic move. You're starting not with force, but with trust and a little humility. This slide just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you have our knee-jerk reaction to everything. Defend our ego, prove we're right, try to control the outcome. But this other path, servant strength, it's a radical alternative. It's about choosing to trust instead of defend, choosing humility over having to prove yourself, and choosing love over control. And let me be clear, this is not weakness. It's just a different and maybe more powerful kind of strength. So just take a second and let that sink in. Think about your own life right now. Where are you fighting tooth and nail to control a situation or prove you're valuable? This framework just gently asks us to consider if there's a different move, a more powerful one that might look like patience or humility, or even just being quiet for a moment. Okay, so with that kind of philosophical idea in place, let's get super practical. Like any good engineering project, a meaningful year has to be built on a solid foundation. You can't build a skyscraper on sand. And in this system, the bedrock isn't what you're going to do, it's who you've decided to be. And this is the secret sauce right here. It's called identity-based habits. So instead of starting with, I want to lose 20 pounds, you start with, I am a healthy person. See the shift? The goal is no longer just hitting a target. The goal is to become the type of person who just naturally does healthy things. The focus shifts from a finish line to a way of life. And this is what it actually looks like in practice. These aren't just wishful thinking. The source material has this great line. It calls them the verdict I have rendered on myself. It's a decision. So when you're tired and you're tempted to skip that workout, the question is no longer, do I feel like it? The question becomes, what does a healthy and strong person do? Your actions simply become the proof of who you've already decided you are. All right, so you've defined your identity. That's huge. But how do you actually make it real? This is where we get the engineering schematic for the whole project. A super simple 3-layer system that connects that core identity all the way down to what you do every single day. Here are the 3 layers. Think of it like a pyramid. Down at the very bottom, the foundation, you've got your process goals. These are the small, daily things you absolutely do, no matter what, like writing 500 words or walking 10,000 steps. Then, in the middle, you've got your performance goals. These are the milestones you can control, like hitting a certain weight in the gym or saving a specific amount of money. And then, right at the top, that's your outcome goal, the big vision, the scoreboard for the year. See how each layer just builds on the one below it? It all works together. So here's the bottom line, the one thing to remember from all this. Your main job is not to stare at the outcome. Your job is to protect the foundation. You fiercely protect who you've decided to be, and you protect the daily process that proves it. If you can do that, the outcomes, well, they just tend to take care of themselves. But we all know life happens, right? As the saying goes, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So a good plan, a good system, has to have a way to adapt and course correct. And this framework has that built right in. It all comes down to this one simple number, 1 degree. It seems like nothing, right? Totally insignificant. But in navigation, well, it's the difference between landing where you want to go and being completely lost. Get this. There's an old pilot's rule of thumb called the 1 in 60 rule. It basically says that if you're off course by just 1 degree, after 60 miles, you'll miss your target by a full mile. And that is a perfect metaphor for our lives. That one little deviation today, skipping the gym just this once, making that one impulse buy, it seems like no big deal. But if you don't correct for it, those little 1-degree shifts compound. And a year from now, you're miles off course. The key is making small, regular adjustments. And here is the tool to do just that. It's so simple. A 30-minute check-in once a month. Think of it as a project status meeting for your life. You just sit down and ask these 3 simple questions to make sure everything's still aligned and to spot those little 1-degree errors before they become big problems. So we've gone through this whole big, powerful year-long framework. But all the best plans in the world are totally useless without one key ingredient. And this is where we bring it all home, from the 12-month vision to the next 12 hours. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? It's so easy to get stuck in planning mode, where the action is always going to happen tomorrow. This entire system we've talked about is designed to build momentum, and momentum has to start with a single step, a single action taken today. So let's just boil this whole thing down into 4 clear things you can do. First, define who you've decided to be. Second, design the daily habits that prove it. Third, put it in your calendar right now, schedule your first monthly check-in. And fourth, and honestly the most important, just begin. Start with one small thing you can do right now. And that's really the only question that matters at the end of the day. This isn't about tomorrow or next week. It's about today. It's about closing that gap between the person you say you are and the person your actions show you to be, starting with one small, quiet action. So, what's yours going to be?